Hello, and welcome to a brief presentation on sociology for September 2020. I'll now go into the presentation and go through the core elements of the sociology course. Okay, so what is sociology? Well, it's a study of society and all its aspects. We look at the past, present, and the future, and it gets people to think about contemporary social issues. It's involved in social research, and hopefully students find it a very challenging, stimulating course. As you see from the grid below, the course consists of 3 units. Unit 1 is socialization, culture and identity. Unit 2 is researching and understanding social inequalities. And Unit 3 is debates in contemporary society. The first exam is an hour and a half, and it's got 30% of the A level. The other 2 exams are 2¼ hours, and they comprise 35% each of the course. And the specification we follow is OCR. Each exam has a mixture of short, medium, and longer extended essays in it. So writing skills are a key element of the course. The first unit, Sociology, Culture and Identity, firstly looks at what is culture. Our culture is made up of norms, roles and values, and these are constantly changing. We've only got to look at the recent months and how, when we looked at wearing masks in public, we thought, we don't do that. But now it's become part of our norm to do it under the present conditions. And norms do change a lot over time. We look at socialization and how people are affected by the family and peer group, education and so on. How are they influenced by these various agents of social agency? So you can see there, mass media, religion, workplace, all of them have an influence on what we are and what we become and how we act. As part of the first part of Unit 1, we also look at what identity is, the nature of gender, class, age, ethnic identity, etc. As part of our social makeup, we have different aspects of identity. For some of us, class identity might be more important. For some of us, our age might be more important. For others, it might be our ethnicity might be more important. But all these work together and make us what we are as a social being. And what we look at is what is the nature of these identities? How have these identities changed over time? And how are they mixing together to influence us? Once we look at the introductory part of that unit, we'll then look at the family. And the family, the first thing we look at is how family patterns are changing. It used to be we lived in large families, which were called the extended family, but now we've moved in the main to what we call nuclear families, which is a smaller unit, parents and children. However, as you'll know, there's lots of different types of families in our society. There's been a rise of single-parent families, there's been a rise of same-sex families and so on. And we'll look at why those changes are happening and why some families have become more acceptable than were in the past. If you look at trends in the family, there's been a significant rise in divorce over recent years. And what we look at is what does that mean statistically? Well, about 1 in 3 marriages end in divorce. The most risky time of divorce is during the first 7 years of divorce, for example. Why is divorce more popular? Well, firstly, it's more easily obtainable than it was in the past. And also norms have changed about divorce and how acceptable it is. Changing marriage patterns, we look at how the age of marriage has increased. It used to be, if we think back to grandparents, they might have married in their early 20s. Now people will marry much later. They'd rather get their career under their belts and get their kind of house and things established first before getting married. So the average age has risen to something like mid-30s, if not beyond that. The size of the family has also changed, that we are now much smaller families than used to be in the past. and we'll look at why that's happened. We also look at the relationship between men and women. Are they becoming more equal in the family? Are men taking their equal part in the family? What's the impact of women working more now than in the past? And why has change happened? And has it happened in every family? Also, how is childhood changing? Families have become much more child-centred than they were in the past. Children are much more important to families than they were. And what's the impact of that? Do children have too much say in the family? Do children have too many rights, which some writers would argue? And we'll look at something like the dark side of the family as well, and how that can affect families. Unit 2, which we normally cover in Year 12 as well, it starts off by looking at research methods and inequalities. Sociology is built up of various types of research. So what we'd look at is how sociologists carry out their research, what guides them in carrying out the research, and what methods do they use, like interviews, observations, questionnaires, etc. in their research. To give you an example, this is a study done by a girl called Karen Lumsden, who's now a professor at university. She did this as a PhD kind of research. She was looking at young people in the boy racer scene in Aberdeen, and to do that, she kind of joined the group to see what the life was like within that boy racer culture. So she spent quite a bit of time there looking at how that subculture operated, and she also took part in many activities which they took part in. And she concluded that it was quite difficult for a young female to do research like that, because it was a very male-dominated world, and because she was a younger kind of researcher, she did find it uncomfortable at times. But she also found out what the culture was like, and she'd act as an intermediary with the police eventually in that culture. Once we've looked at the research methods which are used in sociology, we then look at aspects of inequality. There's class inequality. What are the differences between working class, middle class, and upper class now? And is class still significant? Some sociologists argue it is significant. Some sociologists argue it's declining in significance. What's the answer to that? What is the answer? Gender inequalities. We know there's been lots of changes in the situation between men and women. If we compare the 1970s to now, then there's been huge changes. But has the change been total? Are men and women equal in the workplace? Are they equal in the home? Are they equal in other aspects, such as education and health? And what we'll do is look at differences which still exist between the genders in those kind of area, and how do sociologists explain these trends. Ethnic inequalities. Ethnic groups have different prospects in society. What are those differences between the ethnic groups, and why are those differences in existence? How do sociologists explain these trends? Age inequality is an issue which has come more and more to the fore. It used to be older people were considered to be the ones who were facing difficulties and had money pressures and so on. But increasingly in modern society, it's young people who are facing problems. We know from the recent events on coronavirus that it's young people who have suffered the most. They're the ones who have lost their jobs. They're the ones who are leaving university with degrees but can't find work. And those are really worrying trends which are happening to the youngsters. And again, how do sociologists explain these trends? How do we explain how young people are seemingly at a disadvantage? Unit 3, which we look at in Year 13, firstly looks at globalization and the digital social world. The digital world has increased dramatically since the year 2000. Before year 2000, we didn't have much digital world at all. Now, if you think about how much we use digital communication in our everyday life, then it's had a huge impact on society. Internet, social media, using internet for work, online learning, and so all of it is very influential. So what we do is look at how things have changed in terms of the digital world, the move from analog to digital, but also look about the effect on our relationships, on our identity, on social inequality, because we talk about the digital divide and how if you don't have the internet in today's world, it can have a huge impact on you as a person. Also looking at the global impact about how social media has been used in areas of conflict, in areas of politics, and so on across the world. We all know about Donald Trump and his use of Twitter, for instance, to get his message across. And then to finish off with the Unit 3, we'll look at Cramadimus or education as options in that subject. At the moment, I'll look at education as the topic there, looking at how education has changed and different patterns within education. So sociology is a very adaptable course. It's good preparation for university because it does rely on essay writing skills. Sociology is an academic A level, which will give a very good foundation on social, political and policy knowledge. It's demanding and rigorous, so it stands on its own with other subjects in terms of A level, and it can lead to a wide range of jobs. It can lead to in the police, research, teaching, medicine, a whole range of areas. I've had students do a multiple of subjects from studying sociology. The kind of skills it develops is essay writing skills. That's part and parcel of doing the course. It looks at a range of perspectives and looking at contemporary issues, and it provides a strong understanding of social and political issues, both past and present. So students come from a wide range of subject areas in studying sociology, and they mostly do find it interesting and certainly different to what they've done in the past. If you've got any more queries about sociology, thanks for listening to the presentation, and my email address is available on this website, which is paulkennywell@ewsacademy.org.uk. Okay, thank you very much, and hopefully look forward to speaking to you more face-to-face when times get better. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.